Afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you're all well. Princess Diana's death, possibly part six. Try and make it the final part, to be honest. There's only 15 minutes left of the video, the documentary. Try and not talk so much and get through it, maybe have a conclusion. But so far, it's not looking good, is it? You know what I mean? It's not looking good for the royal family and everything surrounding it. And it looks like the Princess Diana was murdered. It was covered up, and yeah, that's the way it looks. But we'll carry on. We'll carry on.
Half the beds of England, including two of his wife's close family. But,
Who?
do you want me to say that? Or
Yes, go on.
Princess Margaret and Princess Alexander.
Stop it.
I don't think that she was somebody who was a kind of would have wanted to marry a psychopath. I think she must have got a very nasty shock when she found out quite how unpleasant he is. But obviously, being the sort of person she is, she said, "Well, that's it. You know, I've got to stick with this, and and he's going to shag anything that moves, and I can't do anything about that. That's what they all do anyway, isn't it?"
Almost everyone has heard rumours about Prince Philip's innumerable extramarital affairs. Yet newspapers have never published full reports, whereas they routinely expose the affairs of pop stars, footballers and other celebrities.
Yeah, it was well. I mean, even if you watch The Crown on the Netflix, I might do a little thing just on good things to watch. The Crown, it is good. But The Crown kind of goes into that. This is what I mean with The Crown. It's not as favourable to the royal families as you would think. It's tried to be honest, but can only be so honest. But it's worth a watch. But it does go into things like this and the Duke of Edinburgh's infidelities. So it is a good watch. I would recommend it to anybody. The Crown on Netflix.
Why? Because in Britain, the media dare not challenge the authority of those at the very top.
I have a friend of mine who was at a party where he had to observe the disgusting sight of Prince Philip wearing a leather jacket, dancing to a Stones song with his hand halfway up the skirt of some young woman. This is, and that's not an unusual event at all for Prince Philip. He's done that sort of thing many times.
This isn't a question of morality. It's a question of media cowardice. The British press usually love nothing more than exposing the peccadilloes of eminent people.
Yeah, but they won't expose the royals. They can only say so much. Yeah, again, they are the royal family of the country, the monarch, and you don't really. It's the power's been hidden. It's been hidden. These people have power.
All except senior members of the royal family who are mysteriously exempt. Funny that. You may think that we should have given Prince Philip a right of reply in this film. Well, we did, but he declined our invitation, as did the entire royal family. And they are not the only ones. In fact, if you're wondering why you're not hearing from any members of the British establishment in this film, it's certainly not for want of trying on our part. We asked all of these pillars of the establishment to take part, and they all refused. I wonder why.
Silence speaks volumes. Silence speaks volumes. The white Fiat Uno, which has been known about since the time, never discovered whose it was or where it went. But it played a big part. It played a big part.
What you are seeing is what the CCTV camera at the entrance to the Armour Tunnel was recording at the time of the crash. Nothing. Because it was switched off, even though it was usually switched on 24 hours a day. Was that just another coincidence? Or something more sinister?
Well, you do ask a good question. You say, how is it that every single traffic camera in that tunnel was switched off or not working?
Even though no cameras recorded the crash, it is beyond doubt that a white Fiat Uno collided with Dodi and Diana's car in the tunnel and contributed to their deaths. The French police tried to deny its existence at first, but too many eyewitnesses saw it, and paintwork from a white Fiat Uno was found on the Mercedes, where the two cars had collided. So, who was driving it? Suspicions fell on James Anderson, a photographer with connections to the Secret Services. He had been following Dodi and Diana earlier in the month during their holiday in the Mediterranean, but he was not amongst the paparazzi who were waiting outside the Paris Ritz on the night of the crash.
Anderson was a millionaire paparazzo, a very well-known member of the paparazzi on the continent, made a great deal of money out of royal pictures, lived in some style in the French countryside.
He told police that he wasn't in Paris on the night of the crash, but gave two completely different accounts of where he had been. His wife and son also gave him contradictory alibis. Privately, He told friends that he had been there in the tunnel in Paris that night. Crucially, Anderson owned a white Fiat Uno.
It was said of this Fiat Uno that it was up on chocks and didn't work. Well, that appears to be untrue too. It was driven many hundreds of miles around the French countryside. So the whole question of the Fiat Uno and who was driving it, which is of course absolutely crucial, totally crucial to the investigation, has never been resolved. And you have to say, why?
In May 2000, Anderson's body was found in a blazing car in woodland near Montpellier.
In a Ministry of Defence field, shooting range field, in a car which was burned out and locked, but no keys were in the car or in his pocket. And the police claimed he committed suicide.
They claimed this, even though the fireman who found him says he saw 2 bullet holes in Anderson's skull. You don't have to be a conspiracy theorist to point out that it's difficult for a man to shoot himself twice in the head and then set fire to his own car before dying.
I would like a monarchy that has more contact with its people.
By the end of the inquest, so much suspicious evidence had been heard that the establishment coroner could take no chances. So he prevented the jury even considering murder as an option. His summing up lasted almost 3 days, during which he continually distorted the evidence, ignored much of the eyewitness evidence, and tried to convince the jury that the crash was nothing more than an accident.
At the start, I told you it was not necessary to solve every subplot in the story. There are certain matters relating to Henri Paul that simply cannot be resolved with any clarity. You've not heard in person from Professor Lecomte, Dr. Pepin and others concerned with the analysis of Henri Paul's samples. In common with most road traffic accidents, this collision did not appear to have a single cause. The relationship between Diana and Dodie had reached the point where it could no longer be tolerated. The conspiracy theory has been minutely examined and shown to be without any substance. Will you please now retire to consider your verdicts?
But the one thing the establishment and the royal courts couldn't fix was the jury. 11 ordinary men.
Is it? You hear the evidence and you come out with your conclusion. And as much as I tried to steer it in the direction as it said there, I believe the verdict's coming. I'll just leave it for Keith Allen to expose.
Men and women who ignored the coroner's one-sided summing up and instead spent almost a week examining the evidence for themselves.
Richard Wiseman, diary entry. It's day 93 and we're still waiting for the verdict. Nobody around me can understand why the jury are taking so long. The hacks all expected a verdict of accidental death to be returned within seconds.
Oh, did you see those sandwiches they just took in for the jury? Yeah, I mean, my worry is they look far too good. You know, if they'd given them some curled up shite, you know, they'd agree by 2, give the verdict by 3 and be home by 4.
Fact is, it's becoming painfully obvious that the jury, unlike the press, bothered to listen to the evidence, and they are now analysing it very, very carefully.
The verdict, and again, the people, the jury, they've been undertasked with a great job here, to be honest. It's a very high profile case, and from their perspective and what you were doing, you wouldn't want to sort of get it wrong, and you'd want to do it thoroughly and do it for the public as well. So as much as people try to steer it in a direction, you can understand why people would want to do this properly and give the verdict that they truly believe in and from what they've heard. And again, it was due to the high profileness of Princess Diana and this case, they knew, the jury, that this verdict will go worldwide. So it's kind of like, for me, if I was a member of this jury, I would want to do it properly. Do you know what I mean? I'd want to do it properly. I wouldn't just be swayed. I'd have to look at the evidence and decide for myself, and I wouldn't let people, no matter how powerful, sway me if my job was the jury. And it looks like these people were strong enough, which thankfully they were, to follow it through and do the job that they were asked to do, not be sideswiped by the people in the court. So the verdict, as he says in a second.
A year after the inquest into the deaths of Princess Diana and Dodi Al-Fayed, we asked a cross-section of ordinary people what the jury's verdict was.
Accidental death?
Purely accident.
It was accident.
Was it accidental?
Accidental death.
It was an accident.
Accidental death, I believe.
It was an actual accident.
Accidental death.
Accidental death.
The answers the public...
Yeah, that's what we were led to believe, and it was the paparazzi's fault. And that is the general consensus of people, and again, this is kind of why I've covered this documentary, and I've covered Princess Diana's death, because the ultimate general consensus is it was an accident, but that is not what the jury in the Royal Court of Justice at the inquest of Princess Diana, that was not their verdict. It was not their verdict. They did not deem this to be an accident, and we'll hear it now.
...gave us were uniformly inaccurate.
They said the paparazzi, didn't they?
The paparazzi chasing her?
I think, yes, it was for the paparazzi.
Around the world, people have been massively misled by the British media into believing that the deaths were an accident caused by the paparazzi. But in reality, the jury did not blame the paparazzi, and they decided that the crash was not a mere accident, but something much more serious. In the end, the jury delivered the most powerful verdict that the coroner had left open to them. Unlawful killing is defined in law as homicide or manslaughter, and the jury blamed the following vehicles, not the paparazzi.
What is also interesting, overlooked, I think, almost totally by the media and commentators, was the wording of the verdict. Well, the detail of this verdict was such that it was an unlawful killing contributed to by, and one of the factors was, following vehicles, not the paparazzi.
No. Initially,
So there you've heard it. The verdict from the jury in the inquest was that Princess Diana was unlawfully killed and murdered, manslaughter. That the verdict was not an accident in any way, shape or form. They deemed it to be a very serious incident in which somebody caused the death of Princess Diana, and it was very much painted as an accident by the media, and that is not what the jury said.
Journalists were confused, but within minutes, the BBC was reporting that the jury had blamed the paparazzi, and the rest of the media followed the example of the British establishment's impartial broadcaster. Soon, the verdict had been spun by the media into an accident caused by the paparazzi. And so, a lie got halfway around the world while the truth was still putting its boots on. The altered verdict was still on the BBC's news website at the time of making this documentary.
Whether it was a case that the commentators, in the end, wanted...
Unlawfully killed. So yeah, this is the verdict, and again, as this documentary says, and it's very true. It was swept under the rug in the very, as it said there, before the truth got its boots on. The lie was round the world, and it's put very well there by Keith Allen, put very well. And ultimately, that was the truth. It was blamed on the paparazzi as an accident, but that is not what the jury said.
Wanted it to be the paparazzi, and so immediately assumed that, and hadn't, and often some of them didn't really follow it on a daily basis. They might read in the odd transcript, and certainly a change of that kind, which was very important because following vehicles was a much bigger category than just paparazzi because of the reasons I've just given. That nobody either wanted to understand what that meant, or if they did, weren't prepared to include it in their commentaries.
The media declared that Mohammed Al-Fayed had been defeated, but in reality, the jury's verdict supported what he'd been saying all along. Diana and Dodi were unlawfully killed.
Yeah, the jury supported Al-Fayed, but our media printed it and painted it the other way.
2011, and the British media, after seriously misreporting the verdict, refuse even to discuss what the verdict really means. Their deafening silence speaks volumes about the deeply troubling outcome.
There was a feeling of openness about it, and yet at the end of it, I have to say, even as a supposedly educated scientific person, I would still say I don't feel that at all confident that it got to the bottom of it.
People will still go on thinking there is something happening here because they know the British establishment, they know their capacity for cover-ups. The newspapers in this country really don't want to upset the very top.
The most bizarre thing is that normal people in this country who don't necessarily enjoy conspiracy theories, if you go to a bar, you'll find 3 people who go, ooh, but the royals did it, didn't they?
I think most of the British public still believe it was dodgy. I believe Mohammed Al Fayed will always believe it's dodgy. I believe the establishment want it all to just go away for whatever reason, and I don't know the answers to these questions. All I know is that the inquest has probably raised more questions than in the end it answered, and it answered a lot of questions.
I would still say it was fantastically convenient for the monarchy that this woman died. Just think what she might be saying now if she hadn't died. Think what a problem it would have created for Camilla. Think of, it would have created serious constitutional problems. Even she was perfectly capable of being somebody who started a movement to end the monarchy.
The full facts about the Alma Tunnel.
Yeah, and again, here's the flowers racking up on the when she died, and it was amazing, to be honest, how many flowers there was. And I can't remember anybody dying and it being so effective on the country. I can't remember anybody dying and it being so anybody who was alive at the time, similar age to myself or older, will know exactly what I'm saying. And yeah, it felt like we lost something. It did feel like we lost something.
Crash may never be known, but we do know this for certain. Dodi and Diana were the victims of an unlawful killing, and various parts of the establishment, with their unerring instinct for mutual self-preservation, then seem to have rallied around to cover it up. They covered for each other and suppressed uncomfortable facts, and they think that they have got away with it. The British establishment think that they have got away with murder. But then what's new? They've been getting away with murder for centuries.
Yeah, this is the thing. It's nothing new to these people, and this is why, if it is true, they would attempt it, because they know they can pull these things off, even in the modern world. And there's a very, very strong argument. I mean, even the jury's verdict that she was unlawfully killed, manslaughter, not quite murder, but they didn't put they didn't put murder on the table for the jury to pick that. That's the beauty of it. They tried to leave that off the table, so the jury still went with the strongest possible thing they could, unlawfully killed. And it says a lot. It says a lot, and this documentary says a lot, and what happened in the courtroom says a lot as to what really happened here. And it very much sways the way that she was murdered, and she was murdered by the powers that be, so to speak. Well, what the powers that be are in terms of who exactly, but it does kind of feel as if she was took out from higher ups for everything he said there. She was a very dangerous woman to the royal family, a very dangerous woman, and not in an aggressive kind of I'll attack you, fight you way. She had enough information and power, as we've seen by all the flowers, to actually bring these people down with what she knew.
Since the crash, some curious...
Not my king, not my king, not my queen either before him, not my king. I do not define with these people. I do not believe we need ruled. I do not believe in a monarchy. And this here man is not my king, and he's not my king for many reasons, and one of them will be this reason here of Princess Diana. And yeah, I don't blame him for his death specifically, but I was much more a fan of Princess Diana than I ever was of any of these royals. The only ones who get any sort of favour with me really would be Prince William and Harry, and even they don't really, because they've been indoctrinated now. This woman died when they were young enough for these people to be indoctrinated into the way of things, and I believe they have been by now. And they've followed in line, and the mother's not there to give them any sort of guidance at all. and these people are now part of this system. Although Harry obviously broke away and has went to America, but William, the one that matters, to be honest, the king, the future king, he's been now indoctrinated into this, and he kind of has to have been to be the king as well. Like they do it in a certain way, these people, and yeah, you're bred for this, if you know what I mean. So it's yeah, but not my king, not my king.
Yes, things have happened. Charles has married Camilla, as he'd always wanted to. MI6 now publicly admit that they have been involved in killings. Diana has been airbrushed out of official royal history.
Yeah, I mean, we all know MI5 and MI6 kill people. It's the very nature of the fucking business. James Bond, you know what I mean? Al Bond will tell you what these guys are up to.
No action has been taken against the police chiefs who suppressed Diana's sworn statement.
No, they got lordships, for God's sake.
Predicting that the royal family would kill her in a car crash. Instead, they both now sit in the House of Lords.
Of course.
Mohammed Al Fayed was ordered by Prince Philip to take down the royal warrants that had hung for decades outside Harrods. And shortly before selling the store in 2010, and more in sorrow than in anger, he symbolically burned them in sight of his son's grave.
Yeah, well done, mate. Well done.
I am destroying this royal crest as a tribute to my son, Dodi.
Well done, mate. Well done. I'm not one for these people and their crests and their bullshit. You could get rid of them for me, and I don't think it would affect us, you know what I mean? Probably better off, cost us a fortune. They don't really do anything for me. So, yeah, well done, and respect to your son, and I hope somewhere he was watching and he enjoyed the show.
I feel that he is looking down on this today. There was a clear verdict of unlawful killing. So why has nobody been arrested?
Yeah, and nothing been done, because it's the Royal Court of Justice, it's the royal family, everything we know, you know what I mean? Everything we know, basically, but yeah, I mean, these people as well, they're supposed to be the head of the Church of England, you know what I mean? They're the head of the Church of England, and and look how they behave, you know what I mean? So it's, yeah, I mean, I'm all for this. I'm all for him burning these emblems in the garden in front of Dodi's burial site, sort of thing. I mean, it's symbolic in a way, and fair play to him. Fair play to him.
What is at the core of all this is racism.
I'm not a big Fulham fan, but you know what I mean. Respect's where it's due. The man's lost his son here. And it does look like he was murdered, unlawfully killed. Even jury, the verdict come to, and yeah, no thing to any man who loses his son. You know what I mean? And you can tell that he's felt it. He's felt it for a long time. It's been on his mind since that day, and he's fought long and hard to for the inquest and to get that verdict. To be honest, and he'll never bring his son back, but at least he got some justice in a way, but at the same time, as he said there, he didn't, because nothing was done about it.
Powerful people in this country, my country, don't want to hear me talking about Prince Philip's
Nazi. Yeah, exactly, mate. He's a Nazi. I know. People don't like it when you say that. They don't like it. I've been saying it for years. These people are German, you know what I mean? They've got links to the Nazis. And there's no denying it. There's no denying it. And I don't give a fuck if you're a royal or not, or a royalist. These are the facts of the matter, eh? These are the people you align with and bow to, who are just human beings, the same as you and me. There's nothing here for me, you know what I mean? And there's not my king, not my queen. I'm bowing to nobody, mate. I'm not bowing to these fucking awful people. If I do bow to somebody, it'll be somebody I've got respect for, not some people I don't have respect for at all. So yeah, Nazi links, and again, World War II, German, Saxe Coburg Gopher, look into it all if you want, but yeah, they're all German. So again, the British royal family, they're not even British, mate, they're German.
Background, but I have to, because it's just 100% true.
The Queen may be burning in hell right now, to be fair. So I mean, there was always a plus side there. That could be true.
They wouldn't accept me or my son. And when he fell in love with Diana, they murdered them.
Despite obtaining a verdict that vindicates his years of struggle, Mohammed Al Fayed fights on. Still grieving for his son, he has opted for truth rather than happiness. Legal action is continuing in France against the police chiefs who suppressed vital evidence, and the establishment cover-up is being steadily exposed day by day. Truth will out. And as more and more people come to understand what the damning inquest verdict really means, we may soon witness what the British establishment fears most: the end of the monarchy.
And here to that, here to that. And again there, just a picture of the Queen looking very evil indeed, as she often did, with her black fucking devil eyes. I mean, when David Icke come out with all the reptilian stuff, I mean, you kind of want to believe it just because the people are evil, you know what I mean? But let's not get too carried away. But yeah, with her black soulless eyes, and again, it speaks for itself, to be honest. It speaks for itself, and this documentary, and then many people, long before they've ever seen this documentary, and at the time it happened, believed that these people killed Princess Diana. They murdered her for being too loud, as one thing, being too popular, and daring to take on the royal family, and obviously doing what she was doing, running around with Dodi Fayed, and being in love, and in a way disgracing Prince Charles to a form. So yeah, in my opinion, and I've thought this for a long time, and I thought it before I seen this documentary, but after seeing this documentary, I truly believe that Princess Diana was unlawfully killed, as the jury said. I would go to fight to say murdered, but the jury were not given that option. And they were murdered by these people. This woman here in particular would have the final say, you would imagine, being the Queen. And you'd think if somebody was able to order such a thing, it would be this woman. And she would maybe have a final say. You wouldn't think the intelligence forces, MI5, MI6, would go about doing such things without some sort of orders from somebody high up, i.e. her husband as well. The Duke of Edinburgh could also be included in there. But yeah, you wouldn't think these people would act without orders. There was definitely, for me, a plot to cover up something. So what are you covering up? Well, you're covering up the fact that you've murdered this woman. Because she was very dangerous, and she was just dangerous in a sense of how she could have damaged these people. But we also heard about the landmine complaint, and that will piss off powerful people in powerful places in the armaments industry as well, though. So that's always an option as well. But it was the Royal Courts of Justice the inquest was in, and it was the Royal Courts of Justice that were attempting to sway the trial, so to speak. So again, it smacks of a cover-up to me. It smacks of this woman was murdered. And yeah, as I said before, not my queen, not my king, and they never will be. And yeah, as I said earlier on, and it's been proved in here with pictures, these people are German. These people had ties to the Nazis. They claim not to. They claim to have distanced themselves, but I don't believe that, to be honest, because ultimately these people are lying bastards. They are lying bastards as well, and everything about Princess Diana as well. Like, they lied about all this. You know what I mean? They're lying bastards. Not my queen, not my king, not my monarch, not my monarchy. And if we could get rid of them, we would, or I would, but I don't believe we ever will or can. I believe they truly have the power of this country and run it. And it's all hidden. It's all hidden, but these people truly are the powerful people in this country. So yeah, that was the documentary of Princess Diana's death, Inquest of an Inquest by Keith Allen, and very interesting to me, but it speaks for itself. It speaks for itself. These people, as I've said throughout these last 5 minutes, for me, murdered Princess Diana. And you would be hard set to convince me otherwise, to be honest. I'll leave it there. Peace.